For those in the food industry, having someone like Gordon Ramsay critique your food can as well be equated as meeting the Grim Reaper. Saying things like, "My gran could do better, and she's dead," or "For what we are about to eat, may the Lord make us truly not vomit," are just a few of what he would likely say when your kitchen skills didn't quite impress him. But that hasn't always been the case. You might be shocked to know that there might have been a few times Gordon actually liked the food so much that he had to beg for the chef's recipe to replicate the same in his kitchen. And yes, when you have Gordon Ramsay showing such interest, it's impossible not to be intrigued and wonder about the taste of such a dish. That's why we've compiled these memorable moments into a video, so you can discover the very few exceptional dishes and chefs that impress the renowned food critic. Red velvet cake. On the first bite, anyone would love cake, right? Well, think again. While many would easily go for a bite of tasty-looking cake, some would rather have what you might call an unrealistic description of what an ideal cake tastes like. Gordon Ramsay is in that category. Gordon has always been quick to dismiss cakes from a series of pastry chefs. Indeed, we can't justify his actions merely by looking at the cakes from our screens. But as a renowned food critic, it's safe to say even though his actions are somewhat extreme, they are justifiable. While some might call Gordon's cake dump a habit, it is really true, and his encounter with the Blackberry restaurant proved so. Apparently, the restaurant was one of those spots in the cities that had lost its essence, and Gordon was trying to resuscitate the place. To his disappointment, the food there was bland and distasteful, and he could barely savor anything from the menu. This was until dessert, when they brought out the red velvet cake, and boy did he like it! The cake was all the chefs needed to keep hope alive as they saw Gordon Ramsay dine on the dessert. As a token of gratitude, Gordon pecked the pastry chef on the cheek. Someone definitely has to ask the lady for her secret potion. Clam chowder. If you know Gordon Ramsay, you'd be able to tell that the celebrity chef has quite a lot of decent clam chowder recipes that he himself devised. While he very much enjoyed his version of an ideal clam chowder, he never knew that he'd be so far blown away by another chef's. He gave his approval to Handlebar's clam chowder in one of the episodes of his show Kitchen Nightmares. It turns out that the restaurant was a popular place in New York City, which had literally lost its taste. Gordon Ramsay was able to affirm that fact after having a taste of all they had to offer on the menu. It was just the clam chowder, which was prepared by the head chef, Melissa, that stood out from everything else. In Gordon's own words, while expressing his satisfaction to Melissa, he said, "This is perfect for a winter's day. That must have definitely been some clam chowder." Mama Cherries. Mama Cherries really did make the grumpy Gordon Ramsay cheery in one of his Kitchen Nightmare shows. Being a small restaurant very close to the ocean in Brighton, the place was not really a sight for sore eyes, and so Gordon had already expressed his disapproval before eating the food from the kitchen. However, charmed by the charisma and zeal of Cherita, the restaurant owner, Gordon was willing to give it a try. At first, he had a catfish goujon with hush puppies and homemade pineapple salsa. After taking his time to enjoy the dish, he also had a spicy chicken jambalaya, which was rather badly presented. However, that didn't stop Gordon from enjoying the meal. If there was one thing the food critic affirmed, it was Cherita had hacked all there was to cooking without even attending a culinary school. So yes, she's definitely a big mama that truly represented. Carrot cake. Still on the list of the unexpected places that managed to make actual food that Gordon Ramsay likes, we are down to Bazzini's, a restaurant in Ridgewood, New Jersey, which was once on the brink of collapse. Like a few restaurants that would have made Gordon's blacklist, the Bazzini's had it all wrong. Their food was bad and undercooked, and their place was all cramped up and outdated. What's worse, they couldn't keep to time, showing the laziness on the staff's part. After Gordon had the restaurant's hard chicken and mushy rosito, he was already closing his book on the place. However, a carrot cake for dessert came to the rescue. The cake was so well made that it got the critic on the happy side once more. He greeted the creator, Sharon, passionately and even asked for the recipe for the cake. Sharon was definitely the one with the elder wand who saved the restaurant from the horrid criticism that would have followed. Bread pudding. What do you make of a bread pudding? While some might have had a chance to have a bite from this dish, not everyone knows about the food. An ideal bread pudding tastes good and even better when presented on a plate. However, not everyone got that hint. Zeke's, which happens to be a restaurant in New Orleans, was undergoing a crisis after the change in management of the place. Their food was bad. They were using poor quality ingredients to cook, and it just seemed like no one with a healthy appetite was ever going to be walking through their doors. Not until Gordon's arrival. After he had rated all the foods as a poor hunk of junk whipped out of the kitchen, he held back on the bread pudding. He did express disgust at the way the food was presented, but the notion quickly changed after he had tasted the dish, calling the pudding out as a delicious meal. It's safe to say that the encounter at Zeke's would have been the worst kitchen nightmare, if not for the bread pudding. Twitter victory. Now, you're probably wondering how Twitter came about in the context of this video. Well, apparently, Gordon Ramsay had put up something more like a challenge on the social media platform. The aim was to cook and present a meal following a certain thread. The critic was to pick that which most stood out from the others. You can imagine how that must have turned out. While many joined the wagon, none was able to impress Gordon with their presentation. Instead, it was a mere toast and scrambled eggs that got the man's attention the most. Was Gordon trying to send a message here? Or was it his go at displaying a certain sense of humor? No one really knows. However, with many disappointed, Lewis, the creator of scrambled eggs and toast, had the win. The vegan burger. It isn't every day you get to taste or see a vegan burger, especially one capable of impressing Gordon Ramsay, someone with probably the highest disdain for vegans. The vegan burger we are talking about was made by Shane, a young lad from the Master Chef Jr. In the episode of the show, young Shane had taken his time to make a Southwest vegan burger with avocado fries and sriracha sauce. While making it, he perfectly combined ingredients like brown rice, black beans, onions, peppers, and tomatoes. Not only was he able to replicate the tasty look of a meaty burger, but he could also wow Gordon and the guest judge, Mayim Bialik. And truly, that was one of those special moments on the show. Sadly, Shane's burger didn't turn Gordon vegan, but he gave the celebrity chef a glimpse of how some vegans enjoy their meals. Way to go, Shane. Crab cakes. Seafood is one thing, but seafood in a cake? That's definitely taking things up a notch, don't you agree? Crab cakes are one of those special dishes found on the menu of the Mixed Bowl Eatery at Belmore, New York. As a matter of fact, the manager and chefs were confident about their crab cakes. When Gordon Ramsay walked into their eatery, they had already given him a glimpse of what he was to expect from the cake. However, he wasn't completely buying it because he already concluded that the dining room wasn't befitted of anything fresh or good because of the setting. To his own surprise, the cake met its hype as the high point of the meal. Gordon thanked the chefs for the cake, but he tagged every other thing from the kitchen as average. The chef still took the criticism as a win. Burger Triumph. The Burger Triumph is truly a triumphant history in the books of Burger Kitchen in Los Angeles. The family restaurant was solely based on producing burgers, but they didn't really get to see that they were making a mess out of it. Of course, Gordon Ramsay was present one day to tell them the bitter truth. They were going about it all wrong. Upon his discovery, he learned that the owners had put several restrictions on the chef. He was not able to use his recipes, neither was he able to order his ingredients. So Gordon aimed to change that. And truly, the difference was clear. In return, the critic got a delicious and beautifully presented burger with smoked Gruyere cheese and a lot of sweetness and goodness. He had to point out, that's what I call a burger. Young chef. Young talent is one of those traits that could lie dormant in the course of one's youth without proper guidance and counseling. Heck, many don't even know what they have until someone points it out to them. It has happened to the best all around us, and it's still a thing. Danielle was one of the people who didn't know the talent she possessed. Being a 21-year-old woman, she had no form of culinary training whatsoever, but somehow her family managed to make her one of the top chefs in the Hot Potato Cafe. Talk about a disaster. As expected, the cafe was continuously plagued with dreadful food. This was until Gordon Ramsay came to the rescue. His rescue wasn't like that of a Superman or any other favorite hero, as he was quick to spill honest opinions about how the place was going to the slum. However, he took an interest in Danielle and guided her on basic culinary practices. To everyone's surprise, the young lady presented a baked potato dish that swept Gordon off his feet. And yes, if we are one to say, we'll definitely hear more from Danielle in the future. One thing is for certain, she probably has some tantalizing recipes up her sleeves. Indeed, Gordon Ramsay isn't the cheeriest of people to meet as a chef. While some referred to him as a walking nightmare in the restaurant industry, others have grown quite fond of his sense of humor. Whichever the case, it doesn't change the fact that he is one of the best there is. Every chef who intends to make waves in the industry should look out to impress the ever unimpressed food critic, Gordon Ramsay.